Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Compliance Clips, your industry insight hub, where expertise is shared and excellence shaped. My name's Rick, one of your hosts.
And I'm your co-host, John. And let me tell you, we came by these gray hairs the old-fashioned way. We earned them.
In our last podcast, we explored cell phone forensics with Lars Daniel and how this rapidly developing field is driving significant change in data retention practices in collision management.
Today is the first in a series where we expand on the theme of data in trucking. We're going to get into the subject of telematics.
Today's special guest is Tom Boehler. Tom brings a wealth of experience from his 25 years at Erb Transport, where he rose to the position of Director of Safety.
That's right, Rick. Tom's insight into dash cam adoption and telematics preservation are invaluable to our discussion today.
Absolutely, John. Tom is going to share his experience when it comes to dash cams for driver development and coaching, as well as leveraging telematics in data and litigation.
Telematics is a critical aspect of modern transportation management, offering insights that drive safety, efficiency, and compliance.
So, whether you're a seasoned professional or new to the field, get ready to open up to the world of telematics.
Stay tuned as we uncover the latest trends, best practices, and real world applications to help shape excellence in our industry.
So, everybody grab a seat, grab a coffee, settle in, and
Let's
let's
at
get
it.
at it.
There must be a delay. I'm going to blame it on that. Hey, good day, and welcome back to another episode of Compliance Clips with your co-host Rick Morgan and myself, John Farquhar. Today we have a special guest. He's good looking, he's smart, and he's rich. And I think he's ranking right up there with Tom Selleck without the mustache, but don't hold that against him. We've got Tom Boehler with us. Now, Tom's been in the trucking industry for a long time, so I'll let Tom give you a little background of what he's up to, been up to, and what he's doing today. Tom, welcome to Compliance Clips.
Well, thanks, John and Rick. Nice intro. Where did I start? Well, when you talk about a long time, started in this at the ripe old age of 16 with a chauffeur's license in driving. And eventually, through the truck driving championships, I got interested in safety and was very fortunate to get hired on with Erb Transport and spent almost 25 years there on that. So I started out as a driver trainer there in the early years, attending the Fleet Safety Council, where I learned a lot through that. Last January, a little over a year ago, decided it was time to, I had a good person that I had been mentoring, let him take over, and I retired, but doing some part-time consulting with Empirica, a company that I had brought on, and it's a very, next to dash cams, I consider that product one of the next evolutions on there. So they asked if I'd be their brand ambassador. And
Cool. Well, I was going to say it's great. I love it when people talk about being a brand ambassador and they've used the product, they believe in the product or the services and whatnot, and can speak to its nature and its success. So you're just not somebody that says, "Hey, Tom, you're good looking. Can you sponsor our product for us and talk about it?" No, you've actually worked with it, used it, and whatnot. So that's awesome. That's great for you. So, and today we want to touch on. We know that you were very largely involved with telematics at Erb Transport during your tenure there. And one of the things that we're really interested in is having a chat with you to help our audience understand about telematics preservation. So in the event of a catastrophic incident, critical crash of some sort or another, there's so much that needs to be done in order to capture that data, preserve that data, prevent spoliation issues, particularly when it comes to a U.S. court case. So we kind of want to talk to you about that a little bit, and some of the things that you've dealt with. So I guess if we break it down a little bit and say, well, dash cameras, you guys were a big proponent for using dash cameras and whatnot, and utilizing that data. I'm assuming it was cloud-based that you had in play?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go about making sure you were preserving that information, that data, downloading it or whatever it be? How did you take care of that?
Well, through our emergency response system that we had, and being the size of the company, we needed to be able to teach everybody how to respond and what to do and who to call. And who to call is the important part of that. And that person has all the knowledge as it's going to reach out to your network on preservation. So I had a guy that I would just say, look, we had an accident. This is what we need to download. And we had a claims file set up, and everything got put into that claims file and preserved in there so that I could monitor it. He's doing the work and it's not chewing up my time. So having someone that's very knowledgeable to download telematics, how it works, who they need to reach out if there's problems, if there's a problem getting the video off the cloud, they were the contact with the provider and preserving that. And then they would know, email back saying, hey, we've downloaded everything, it's in the file. We go in, double check, make sure the clarity's there and the length and duration that we needed was proper in that. So just having that process, because everybody in the heat of the moment, your mind's going 100 miles an hour, and just having a checklist and someone to kind of guide everybody along, and then having everybody trained in how to do that is so key. And I know that's not always possible. Smaller companies, maybe the safety manager's that one person. So
right.
It's always good to have a backup, picking someone as a backup, even with a smaller carrier.
So let's kind of answer this funny question that I know I get a lot from a lot of people. Why do I need to save it? I looked at the video, I didn't see anything out of the norm, and I skimmed through it pretty quickly. It was okay. Why do I need to save that footage? What good is it going to do me later?
You've got that time frame after that claim happens where there's going to be challenges, and it's usually like 12 hours before the deadline expires that you get notice from a lawyer that there's a claim happening. So that preservation there, or I'm not perfect. I've had challenges back to me from the driver and saying, I don't think it was preventable and this is why, and I forgot to give it in the interview. Now you can go back on that, take that deeper dive. And sometimes I did it right with the driver there. We went back through all the information and said, hey, you're right, I missed that, sorry. Or the driver said, oh, I see it now.
Yep. Getting down there, almost looking at it frame per frame to see something that might have been missed as we're scanning through it.
And the biggest thing is I always wanted to base my decision on facts, pure hard facts, not assumptions or hearsay, or sometimes there might be some bias, their unconscious bias gets into that. But if you're working from all the facts, it's much easier you feel more comfortable making that decision too. At least I did.
Right. Cool. So dash cameras are being one form of telematics. We've also got, we can pull engine or ECM data as well, which can kind of give us speeding, harsh braking, other types of events and whatnot. Same approach here. What did you guys do with that kind of data?
Yeah, it's same approach, because years ago when we first started with it, before the dash cameras, you'd have a hard brake. Well, okay, the driver had a hard brake. Is that a preventable hard brake? What is it, or isn't it? On there, you never got all the detail, and you would interview the driver and, okay, did you get all the proper detail or didn't you?
So, like, the one thing I'm hearing here is we're actually kind of touching base on two really component elements of the telematics data. On the one hand, we're talking, Tom, about the importance of saving it in the event of a legal challenge or a lawsuit. But I mean, listening to you explain and go through this, it's absolutely obvious that you are really primarily focused with helping the driver explore how their actions may have contributed to the situation. Can you just kind of speak to this? Because I think this is one of the areas where in my interaction with a lot of carriers, they struggle. Like, how am I using this information so that I'm not being negative in my interactions with the driver, but I'm actually coaching them and developing. And I know I've talked with your organization and several members over the years, and this is one of the outstanding things I think in what Erb did over the and still does as a part of their development. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's when you sit down with the driver and you start reviewing the accident and you look at, okay, when did the incident start? And here's where your reactions are. And sometimes the drivers are hesitant to react on something. And by going through that, and you can show the driver, hey, that truck started losing control at this time frame. You didn't react till 3 seconds later, which is pretty good with in there. It may be a little slow, but if it's 5, 10, why the hesitation? And you get a little more information from that driver as he goes along, and then you have that chance then to actually do some retraining on that, reaction time, and then the lag from your foot to the brake, and the brake coming on, and brake lag, and so on for, how far did you travel in that time frame? And then sometimes the drivers will say, yeah, you know what, when I seen it, I should have had my foot over the brake and been reacting to it, or reacted this way to it. So it serves as retraining, but it's also guiding the driver to where we're going with a decision on it.
And I think that's really key, right?
Yeah.
You're sharing, and the driver is observing what happened, and you're able to say, look, if you had done this, or if you considered that, or what do you think? And they're accepting of your correction, whereas it's always a very difficult task when you're interviewing someone who's involved in an accident, because self-defense, being defensive about it is a normal reaction, right? You think you're being picked on or you're in trouble, and what I'm hearing is we're trying to work together for a resolution, so that, as we like to say in the industry, when faced with a similar circumstance in the future, your outcome will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you give them some reassurance, especially stuff in the States, anything with a third party is going to probably go to litigation. The driver's going to get called in. At least they know the accident, what were reviewed, and hey, I was totally innocent in that. And when they get called in, they're not so nervous about what they're going to get attacked with on there. So, or we settle it. We know that we were at fault when we try to settle it out sooner and keep the driver out of court and the company out of court.
So if you were speaking to somebody who's relatively new in the industry, and you wanted to give them like 5 key points on data preservation, what 5 key points would you communicate? So if you had a new hire coming into your department.
React immediately. Start the process, whatever that may be, or have a process in place would be the other one. Make sure it's in a secure server, not on your desktop. They could disappear. And making sure those time frame, that data is well within the time frame of the incident, before and after, that there's nothing being cut out that could be used against you.
What kind of time frame? What kind of time frame do you work with? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, either side, an hour?
It depends on the incident, and if I want to go back and look at where the driver, the terrain, and the visibility, say, coming around that corner, I might back it up 5 minutes before. But if I want 10 minutes before, that would give something down the road. We had an incident up near Sault Ste. Marie. It was a long stretch of road, and We couldn't figure out why this guy was coming down through the ditch on the right side of the road and traveling for long distances. And you could see that this guy hit the ditch and he was just bobbing in between the ditches all the way down. Unfortunately, as soon as he gets to the trailer, he comes out and takes the trailer axles out. But so yeah, having a longer time frame depends on and what that length is depends on the incident, but it's hard to put an exact number on it.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, this is interesting because, well, I have to admit, a number of times when I speak with some folks, they're like, yeah, no problem. It's on the server. I can go to my provider and get that information. And I'm like, but why not preserve it? Why not get it captured and download it and put it off to the side? Oh, I don't need to clutter up our server with excess information. I can just go get it. And interesting enough, I had a client who had done just that. 8 months later, they were being called up on the carpet and they went, oh, well, we'll just go get the dash camera. Well, guess what? At the 6 month mark, it got wiped off the server by their provider. And they said, no, we have an indefinite. And the provider goes, no, we don't. We need the room. If you needed it, you should have downloaded it. And now it was gone.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're exactly right on that, because we dealt with 90 days and as time goes on, you forget about stuff. And it gets put on the wayside. And like you said, yeah, that time frame expires and it's gone.
Doesn't take long. Cool. Mr. Morgan, have you got anything else for our guest, Mr. Tom?
Well, I think honestly, we could probably sit and talk with Tom for hours and
we could.
explore
well, we'd have
all
to have
kinds
some...
of. Well, yeah, there might be some libations included at some point, but we can't talk about such things as that on a safety podcast. So we'll just kind of move that off to the side. But no, I thank you very much. I think honestly, I do potentially hear the opportunity to invite Tom back at another time. But I think for today, because we do have that TikTok mentality, 15 minutes is the limit.
That's good. Yeah, because when you get into video, just preserving the video isn't enough. And there's a whole segment on reviewing video and what you can miss in there.
Sure.
We talked about that a little earlier, looking at quarter seconds and finding a cell phone in 1/4 second cell phone clip. That's why you missed the corner.
Yep. So all that more reason to pay attention in that investigating process. Look at everything and drill down, look at little details and open it up more and have a good look. So awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate you joining us. And we look forward to it again in the near future.
Oh, Thanks, it's a pleasure.
Enjoy that flight to your sunny destination as John and I sit here in the
exactly.
frosty, frigid air of Ontario.
Oh, it's not that bad now. It's good. Like, look at it. It's supposed to get up to like 12 degrees next week or something. So,
Compliance Clips is a joint production of Summit Risk Solutions and Links Consulting. Thanks so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you in our next release. Take care.